Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. Before we get started, Councilman Spruill will lead us in prayer. I ask that everyone please stand for the pledge. Okay, again, thank you everyone for coming tonight. I'll go ahead and get started with our agenda. First item on the agenda tonight is to consider approval of minutes of October 19th, 2021 regular meeting.
After reviewing the minutes, I'll make a motion that we approve as presented.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Dale, second by Councilman Walker. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously. We'll now close item 1. Move on to item 2 on the agenda, which is the September financial. Ms. Reeves.
Right now, we're at the very end of the year, our September financials. I'm getting ready for the auditors to come in. We're working on closing out year-end, doing all our year-end closeout entries. We ended the year with about $77,970,000 in cash. The cash report is in your financials. $55 million of that is part of the bond issue that we issued for our capital projects. I've included an update on all our capital projects in there, where we are with the Pilgrims Community Center funds. We still have the approximately $2.4 million set aside for that project. We've spent $105,000 to date on that project, and most of that was with the advertising, design, and planning. And you do have some stuff tonight to approve some more construction on that community center project. The sports park, as we know, is pretty much complete, and I've put the project report in there for you today. We've paid most of the bills on the sports park, so that analysis is in there, as well as all of our water and sewer projects. What we've paid to date, there's a complete project list, and what we've paid and what we've budgeted for those is also included in your packet. And I'll take any question.
Mikhail, did you get any questions from the public about the notices that were attached to the water bill?
We have not received any. We have had a few calls in, and people have asked kind of what their bills are, and once we've calculated it for them, they've had no problems with it. And they don't seem to have a problem.
And the bills that we're paying this week, are the new rates reflected on this bill, or will it be in December?
It'll be December.
We are getting calls, people asking about the letter they're getting, talking about the new permit at the landfill. They're not understanding what that is. Just for you to remember that we put the landfill license in Republic's name and not the city's name here a year ago, and the TCQ is making them send out a letter saying that that's changed from the city to them. But nothing changes. If anybody asks you, nothing changes. It's going to be just like it was. It's just a name change. But the letter is spoofing people, confusing people.
Okay, council, we have any further questions?
All right, thank you very much.
We thank you for that update. Okay, we'll go ahead and close item 2 on the agenda at this time. We'll move on to item 3, which is consider casting the city's votes for the election of Titus County Appraisal District Board. Ms. Reed?
Don't you have this one, Darlene? Casting the votes for the,
Every year, we have to cast the votes for the appraisal district for the board for the election, and
well, we have 470. You can put them all on one, or you can divide it up however you want to do it.
I think previously in the past, what we've done, and it's the will of the council, but I think that's what 94 votes each is what we've normally done in the past, if that's, like I said, if that's the will of the council. Just for the public knowledge, the candidates that are is Mr. Buddy Blue, Mr. Mike Edwards, Mr. David Grider, Mr. Steve Martin, and Hewlin Mike Reynolds are the 5 that's on the ballot. And I think, as we've discussed before, the city has a small, our number of our votes is a very, very small. I'm not saying insignificant, but it's in the scheme of things, it's a small amount of ballots. School districts are the ones that really have the majority of the votes on this.
yeah, we have a very small amount. Typically, the school district and the county have a much bigger vote in the overall scheme. Our votes will be very, very insignificant. We can cast them and not cast them, but our votes really don't matter. That
What, you can put them with another city or another to help get, if they have votes left over to get in a person, you can put them all on another if you work it out ahead of time. But if we haven't done that, then I think what you said is divide them up among them and go.
Thank you, Mikhail.
Mm-hmm. Okay, at this time, floor is open for motion on the item.
I'll make a motion that the city has the 470 votes to cast, that we divide those equally among the 5 candidates that I just referred to, which would be 94 votes per person.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Tim Dale, second by Councilman Henry Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Vote carried unanimously. We'll now close that item on the agenda. Item 4 on the agenda. Item 4 is to consider approval of pay request from Watson Commercial Construction for work on community center.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be with all of you once again. Tonight, Laney Buck, and just what you have before you is pay application number 1 for $62,054.10 associated with the first payment on the pre-engineered metal building for the community center.
This is, we ordered the material, but they've asked for this payment for the metal, the first part of the payment, so they can engineer it and get it going. If we don't pay it, like for the last 2 weeks ago, we didn't pay it, so it just pushes back the date that the material is going to come to start the building. So we need to pay for it to keep it moving, so they'll engineer it and get it here in good time. So right now, we're thinking it's the end of February, steel building's coming in, but we highly recommend we pay this bill.
We had asked that they send a representative to the meetings, Ed.
Our architect, both both husband and wife were not able to be here tonight. They will plan on coming at future meetings, but I told them we would see if we couldn't get this paid this time without them coming because they could not make it. If we don't pay it, it doesn't hurt the architects. If we don't pay it, it just keeps us from getting the building built. It won't arrive on time.
Council, we have any further questions? Okay, the floor is open for a motion.
I move that we pay the construction for the work at the community center.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Councilman Walker, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carried unanimously. We'll now close that item on the agenda and move on to item 5. Item 5 is to consider approval of pay request from Anchor Contracting, LLC for pavement rehabilitation project. Mr. Buck?
Thank you, Mayor. Once a pleasure once again. This is pay estimate number 1 and actually the final pay estimate for the slurry seal and overlay project that we did recently that we discussed about a month and a half ago. And project has been completed. We've got an affidavit of all bills paid, and we're recommending payment of $584,855. It's a little short of what the original contract value was, but quantities came up just a little bit short, and that's the difference.
That was gonna be my next question, yeah. The, just for the public, the, total adjusted contract was $614,855. And our financial impact here was $584,855, as Mr. Buck said. So we're satisfied with all of the work and that's been done.
Yes, sir, we are, and they did the final cleanup, I believe, this week, so we should be in good shape.
Okay, thanks, Lana. We appreciate it. Council, the floor is open for a motion on this item.
I make a motion to approve pay request for Anchor Contracting LLC for pavement rehabilitation project.
I second the motion.
We have a motion by Councilman Chappelle, second by Councilman Walker. Madam Secretary, record a vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carried unanimously. We'll now close item 5 on the agenda and open item 6. Item 6 is consider approval of pay request from Texas J&D Construction, LTD, for work on 12-inch West Loop water line.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening. Please state your name for the record.
Brittany Smith with KSA. This pay request is number 5 to J&D Construction for the 12-inch West Loop water line. The amount payable, this estimate is $33,421. And they are approximately 89% complete on budget.
And Brittany, does it look like they're gonna stay on track, target for their timeline to complete it ahead of schedule?
Yes, they are finishing up testing right now.
The weather cooperated with them, so that's been good.
Yes, it has.
Okay, council, floor is open for a motion if there's no questions.
I make a motion that to approve pay request from Texas J&D Construction for work on our 12-inch West Loop water line.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Councilman Chappelle, second by Councilman Dale. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries unanimously. We'll close item 6. Item 7 will be our next item to consider approval of pay request from ASB Utility Construction LLC for work on the Basin M sewer line improvements.
Brittany Smith again with KSA. This is pay request number 3 to ASB Utility Construction for the Basin Elm sewer line improvements. The amount payable to the contractor, this estimate is $223,440. And they are about 45% complete on time and about 43% on dollar amount complete.
So we're satisfied with the work performed so far, and the request is being made tonight.
Yes.
Have there been any problems?
They've had some challenges with construction along the way. This is the same project that the house had flooded, that was discussed last council meeting.
Is this the one where we found a couple of 45-degree turns in the sewer line?
Yes, it is.
What did we do? Did we keep those, or were able to straighten them out at all, or did we just keep them, or what did we do? Put a manhole there, or what?
Sorry, putting a manhole there, yes.
And Brittany, does the contractor feel like they'll still be able to stay on schedule with this project as well, with the timeline?
At this time, they do.
How many days are we into it? I was just looking here, the contract time was 210 days, but
So the notice to proceed was July 26th.
Okay, council, do we have any further questions? If not, we'll open the floor for a motion.
I'll make a motion, we consider the request from ASB Utility Construction LLC for the Basin M sewer line improvements as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Councilman Dale, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carried unanimously. We'll now close that item and move on to item 8 on the agenda. Consider approval of pay request from GM Roberts Incorporated, DBA Corrosion Eliminators for work on School Street Rehabilitation.
Brittany Smith again with KSA to present the pay request number 11 to GM Roberts Incorporated. This pay request is in the amount of $41,325.
Brittany, on our copy here, it's not your fault, but you might tell the time of completion here, it's not legible on ours here. I don't know where we're at time-wise.
Time percent complete is 125%. We have passed the original completion date for this project.
Do we have a new completion date estimated?
The latest schedule is showing mid-December. I think they may have brought that to council at the last meeting, and they haven't changed it yet.
So, and at the last meeting, Brittany, the project manager that was before, presented us, we had requested that he go back to his upper management to see if they can increase their work hours, because he said currently they were only working 50-hour weeks, and we would ask them to work overtime to complete that. Do you get any updates on that?
I know they've been picking up Saturdays, but I haven't heard the hours per week.
If they're not gonna make their December, estimate now, we'd ask them at the next meeting in 2 weeks if they would send a representative.
Okay, I will certainly let them know.
If they're on track to finish in December 15th, I don't necessarily, but if they're not, I'd like to know.
No problem. Okay, any further questions? Floor is open for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we consider the approval of this pay request from GM Roberts, Inc., doing business as Corrosion Eliminators for the work on the School Street EST Rehabilitation Program as presented.
I'll second that.
Have a motion made by Councilman Dale, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carried unanimously.
Mayor, I would recommend the next two things. On 9, we have 2 project reports. Maybe you go down and do the rest of the approvals you need to do and then finish up on 9. Move to 10. Yeah, 9 is 2 people, and just go to 10 and
Okay, we'll go ahead and, at that request with the approval of the council, we'll go ahead and move down to item 11 if there's no issues. 10? Okay. Okay, we'll go to item 10 on the agenda, which is consider approval of award of street bid. Ms. Reeves?
We would like to request the approval of street bids. This was on our last agenda, and after checking with Mr. Adams, checking on the information that y'all asked me to check on there, we found out that there was no conflict of interest with any of the bidders. So we would like to request that the city award the bids for field sand to R.L. Gerhardt and award the bids for topsoil to R.L. Gerhardt and award the bids for crushed iron ore to Seaton Construction and award the bids for flat base type A to H.A. Spannon and award the bids to crushed limestone type A to H.A. Spannon, to hot oil sand to R.K. Hall as the first bid, and then the second bid over to Richard Drake Construction. Hot mix cold lay to R.K. Hall as the first bid, and then to Richard Drake as the second bid. Hot mix type B to Texana Land and Asphalt as the first bid, and then Richard Drake as the second bid. And then hot mix type D to R.K. Hall as the first bid, and Richard Drake as the second bid.
Thanks, we appreciate it. Council, we have any questions?
Is this an annual contract?
This is for 3 years. Yes, we bid it out, last time we bid it for 3 years, and this is another 3-year bid.
Does anybody put any disclaimers now in case of fuel increases or material increases? Is there some adjustments in the bids?
They're allowed an increase up to the cost of living in Dallas-Fort Worth area every year. Index, yes, ma'am.
We've done business with all of these contractors over the years, basically, just kind of swap from one to the other one, depending on their bids, of course. But all of these are very reputable companies that we've done business with for a number of years, I might add.
Generally, these are the same ones that bid last time, within a few dollars of what they bid last time.
Mikhail, did Richard Drake happen to mention why his bid for hot mix lay type D was so much higher, though, than Texana Land and Asphalt? It's like 40,000 higher.
It had to do with whether or not it was delivered, the delivery price, and he's delivering it a little bit further than Texana. Texana is right here, and Richard Drake's a little bit further. And they did have a price for pickup, and the price for pickup was comparable. So if we go pick them up, then the price drops a little bit.
All right, council, we have any further questions? The floor is open for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the award of street bids.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Chappelle, second by Councilman Dale. Madam Secretary, record a vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carried unanimously. We'll now close that item on the agenda. Next item is, item 11, consider approval of lease for sewer vacuum truck.
Hello, Mayor and Council. So what we have a vac truck that we use quite often. It did go down on us about 2 or 3 months ago, and the engine's going to be replaced at about $55,000 to $60,000, and the back end has to be worked on. Probably looking anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 to get that fixed, and it's 10 years old, so we've got the use out of it. So we're looking now to lease purchase one and get one updated, and that's what we're asking you guys to approve.
I noticed on here, 13 years old, I think, so that's,
I was told that it's about a 2011. I thought it was a little older than that, but so it's about 10 years.
I understand. A couple of questions I had here, Anthony. I noticed that on the buy board, just for the public here, one price here for one is $469,898. The other one is $465,259. There is a little bit of differences down through here. One significant one I saw was the warranty here. We had the one that's priced at $469,000 and change has a 3-year parts and labor, and the other one has a 1 year. We have the real hose capacity there is 200 foot longer, which is I don't know what factor that plays, and also we had the debris body capacity from a 15-yard to 12-yard. I noticed.
There's about 5 different vac trucks that we're looking at on buy board. So we haven't. We actually had 4 of them come to the office, and we've actually got one here that I've got right here that all the guys like. It's same 10 to 12 yard that we're looking at that we have compatible to ours, but it's about $445,000.
Wow, that's a big difference. So we're not showing that, I don't think, here tonight. We don't have that here. So that's I thought we were just looking at these 2 here. So we'll need to go ahead.
And I apologize that these were still coming in. We were actually trying to get just the request for us to be able to go and lease one from you guys, and I'm sure we'll bring it back to you when we pick the one that is going to best benefit the city and the price.
I understand. So tonight we won't be making a decision on this. This will be
The decision that we'll be making tonight, or you guys will be, I apologize, will be that you are allowing us to go out to the lease purchase from buy board.
And the lease is just in the interim until we get the bids in to actually go forward with purchasing or approving to purchase one.
I believe that's how it works. Is that right, Mr. Thatcher?
We're just requesting authorization to proceed, basically.
Got it.
And we'll bring it back, because we don't want to go forward and commit the city to debt without getting permission. So we're looking for authorization to freeze, because this is over almost $500,000 worth of a lease that we're getting to, and we just need permission from y'all saying it's okay that we seek bids on this, and once we get it, we'll bring the actual contract back to y'all to approve.
What's the value of the truck that we'll be doing away with?
I don't know that I can answer that.
What would you typically do with it? Auction it, or try to trade it, or sell it, or what would you do with something like that?
Some of the buy board guys have offered to purchase it from us, but haven't given us a price. And then, but we do also auction it, but I'm not sure exactly what the price they've come in at.
So you're talking about purchasing it from us, or doing a trade-in on it, or the auction?
If you would give us permission to go ahead and dispose of that here tonight, then we can look at options to trade that in on the new one or dispose of that. But at this point, we hadn't received permission to dispose of it, so we haven't looked at options.
Okay.
So I have a question, Anthony. For the city of Mount Pleasant, is one vacuum truck sufficient for the city? Because where I'm going at with this is, you said on the one we have, the motor's messed up and the rear end's messed up. Is there any reason why we couldn't repurpose the vacuum system on the existing chassis and maybe look at considering the budget next year for a new chassis to put that on, and we have maybe 2 units if we need to fulfill the needs of the city?
One is sufficient, and we have a smaller jet truck. It's not a vac truck, but the jet truck. So that's what's kept us going, is the small jet truck.
That's your backup then.
I think warranties are extremely important right now in this environment that the nation's in. I've heard Scott, my upper half, talk about to some of his customers that going forward, that some of the OEMs have said that as parts become critical, that warranty vehicles would maybe get a place in line for replacement parts. So in the near future, I think warranties are going to be extremely important.
Also on this, one of the requirements was that the vac truck that we pick is on ground because a bunch of them that they have may take 8 months to build or even a year. So, and we need one they have on the ground. So the ones that we're looking at and we have prices for are on the ground.
I know you said for us to be able to, was that not an agenda item tonight, for us to be able to authorize you to look at that. I don't know if we can go ahead and you're not going to actually be doing anything except pursuing and seeing what the truck would be worth, and just to report back to the council. Am I correct on that?
We can bring that back as an option when we bring the lease purchase back with y'all to approve. Once we get authorization to proceed tonight with this one, we can bring it back as an option on the next agenda if that's something that y'all would like to see.
I think, I know, Jeff, I'd like to see that, I think.
Well, I'd also like to see what kind of value we have in the existing one so we can use it towards either trade or repurpose that, whatever, but to see if we can get some kind of value out of it instead of it just sitting on the yard here and collecting dust.
Okay. Well, no, if there's no further questions, we go ahead and open it up for a motion to authorize proceedings.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. I'll make a motion that we approve the lease for the sewer vacuum truck as presented tonight.
I will second that.
Have a motion made by Councilman Dale, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carried unanimously. We now close that item on the agenda. Item 12 is to consider agreement with Multibank Securities for bidding CD and investments. Ms. Reeves. I think you should have got a seat closer today.
Multibank Securities is a CD program that allows, it brings in all of the CDs that banks have for sale, and allows me to pick from them and buy them. Gives us basically a competitive program, and then it allows me to keep up with all the CDs that I have, and then it creates an investment portfolio for y'all. So this would allow me to basically see what's available out there that all the banks are offering and what the interest rates are and how many months and stuff. And then it's also a program that's linked to Bank of New York, which is one of the people who buys a lot of our bonds, and will allow me to basically get some higher interest rates and see what banks are out there so that I can invest more more of our money, because I have all this bond proceeds money, and I'm looking for ways to invest it. And so instead of me sitting down on the phone calling all the banks saying, what CDs do you have? What's your interest rate? How long the terms are? This Multibank Securities basically has all the banks, list them on there, and I can just go and pick them and then buy the CDs. And then when I get ready to sell them, then we can wire the money back and forth, and it's just a program that links the banks basically to the cities. There's a list of all the cities on there that utilize this program, and it's just I'm just requesting permission to utilize this program to purchase CDs for the city.
So is there a one-time upfront cost to get into this program, or a renewing fee every year?
It's free to cities.
That was my question. What's the advantage of MBS Securities? I mean, this is just something that they offer. I mean, are they associated with some of the lending institutions, and they get their proceeds from there, because they get the money from somewhere? So if we don't pay them anything, my next question, I guess, would be, are we using a firm similar to this today, or?
This is because of the $58 million bond issue. We have all of a sudden all this money. We have arbitrage issues. If we don't, we've got to invest in it. We got to try to get our projects going so we can get it paid down. But rather than have it just set here, it's a tool that Mikhail can use to help her invest in secure investment and do it quicker than just on the phone calling around kind of thing, because it takes a lot of time to do it. Also, Jim Sabonis with Hilltop, and some of they're working with Mikhail and helping her do this to make sure that we get it secured and invested quickly. And so that they recommend this firm to help, or this tool to help.
And the banks get the MSB Securities get their money from the banks, because the banks have to pay a fee to place their CDs on this site, and so that's where they get their money from, is because whenever the CDs are placed, the banks that place their CDs have to pay a small fee, and then that's why they're allowed to offer it free to the cities.
But if you make an investment for us using this tool, do they still charge a fee on that if you make an actual investment, or is it still free?
It's free to us. The banks have to pay the fee on the CD side to place their CDs on there, and then so they list their CDs at a rate, because the banks are so flushed with money right now. They're trying to get people to take their money and invest in it. So this is their way of getting people to invest. So they pay a premium fee to put it on there on this site.
Good deal. I think all the questions have been answered so far. All right, well, let's go ahead and move forward with motion.
I make a motion that we approve this agreement with Multibank Securities for bidding CDs and investments.
I second the motion.
We have a motion by Councilman Chappelle, second by Councilman Walker. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. We'll now close that item on the agenda. Item 13 is to consider approval of Resolution 2021-31 to participate in the National Opioid Settlement. Starlane.
Mayor and Council, Kerry was actually supposed to help me with this, and you see he's not here tonight, so I'll do the best I can. I know the Attorney General's office came and visited with several members, and some of the larger drug companies, they've settled there's an opioid settlement, and cities, if they participate, will get some type of payment from these companies. I don't know our exact amount, and this is just a step towards participating in the opioid settlement.
Darlene, did they explain why we would qualify for payment when they settle this?
Mr. Thatcher may can answer that better than me. I wasn't present at the meeting that they had, so I'm not really for sure.
I wasn't present either, but I think all cities that participate in the settlement. So based on, I don't know what it's based on, population or something, but all cities are getting some.
So all cities are eligible for it.
Basically, if we don't sue any opioids, Cities for Future, basically it's a settlement so that we don't sue any drug companies in the future for opioids, then they will give us the money to help educate. And it's kind of a settlement so that we don't sue any drug companies in the future for opioids. So that's why we get the money.
And we hadn't had any plans to sue anybody, so we thought we might take the money.
So assuming we are awarded the money, what budget line item does that money go into?
So it would go under education, so we do it for public education, and I haven't researched what all we can use the money for, but I talked briefly with the Texas Attorney Generals down at TML, and they were saying that we can use it for education, drug education, you can use it for your police department, and maybe even use it to hire people for the police department, like to pay police department personnel. So I wasn't exactly sure. They didn't go into really details about everything, but she said that she gave me a number to call so that I could get more information about what we specifically could use the money on and how much it was going to be. I haven't had a chance to call her yet. But I think that this could be something. I mean, I told her I was all about free money, so if you want to give me free money, then I'll figure out what we can use it for. Let's just get the free money first, right?
Do we know if that's a one-time settlement, or is this over a 3-year, 5-year period, or?
My understanding was it was a one-time settlement, and it basically, they would give us this money if we signed this resolution saying that we would not sue drug companies in the future for opioids.
I'm reluctant to vote on anything that we don't have a figure in mind. It could be $1,000, and we're signing our rights away for future litigation. It sounds to me like we need an amount.
Okay, I'd have to go back and get what the dollar amount.
Class action settlements can be real risky.
I move that we table the item until we find the exact amount.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to table this item. Councilman Walker, second by Councilman Dale. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously to table this item until we get an amount. Okay. We'll now close that item, and at this time, we'll go back to item 9 on the agenda, which is the report of capital projects.
Lenny's gonna do the public work stuff, and then Ricky wants to do the park.
Once again, thank you, Council, for allowing me to be here. What I'd like to do is just kind of go over our capital projects that we've got going on right now. We've covered some of them through our pay estimates, but just to kind of give you an update on where we're at and where we're intending to be. The School Street Elevated Storage Tank, the first one on the list. You look, the final completion date was 8/12/21. They're telling us right now in the middle of December, and we've heard, we'll try to get them, give us more information, of course, again, as we move forward. The 12-inch water line loop was the one we also had a pay estimate on today. It's about 98%, I'm guessing, finished. There's a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of testing to do, but that project is going well, and it's within budget as well. The wastewater treatment plant rehab project, that's one that Mikhail's ready for us to get going on so that we can get that money spent. That project should be finished with preliminary design towards the end of February, with the awarding of bids in October's the way we've got it laid out right now. This is contingent upon our permit, of course, from the TCEQ, which we're applying for now.
Do we know yet what the discharge line, what we're gonna end up doing, if we're gonna have to buy easements or if we're gonna use the property we already have?
We're gonna use a little bit of easement, but it's gonna be mostly property across the airport for the discharge itself, will be a majority of the line. There's some on Titus County Freshwater District and maybe another easement or two, but predominantly we're on our property. The West Loop wastewater collection system, this project was originally scheduled to follow in behind the wastewater treatment plant, where we took bids on it and awarded the bids in March of 2023. Our current plan is to move that up on the list because we've got people that want to be online out there in that. So we're on schedule right now to try to move that project on up to where we bid it somewhere similar to around where we're probably bidding the wastewater treatment plant. So that construction is less time consuming, so that'll move that project up. The Basin M project that we talked about a while ago is going along fairly well. The contractor is on site. We have had a few challenges on that project, but we seem to be overcoming it. Although the percent time compared to percent money that's been expended is a little bit off now. We think that's going to change pretty quick because a lot of what's left is like pipe bursting and things that are more cost more per foot. So it should go a little bit smoother, as well as we shouldn't be digging up everybody's yards and things at that point too. It is many locations. The pavement assessment we'll bring back to you in December so that we can go out and make good decisions on our pavement projects after that. The wayfinding signs project, we've been working on getting wayfinding signs to direct people downtown from off of interstate and off of the major roads. Delivery date on those signs as of right now is November the 22nd. So
We started that project last December, January, with the idea we'd have it ready for this Christmas, but doesn't look like we're gonna make it.
Do you have any renderings of those signs or examples that you can present to us at a later date?
absolutely, yeah, we've got those renderings and we can include those on future project or future updates if you'd like. And maybe by then they'll be in though.
Yeah, you've got some pictures and stuff you could email to me. We could send them out so you could see them.
How many signs are we talking about here? I don't recall how many.
I think there's 6, if I remember right. To 10, I can't remember exactly.
There'll be at 2 locations on the freeway. Is that?
So there's 2 locations on the freeway. There's one out here on Madison. There's 2 downtown towards restaurants, and there's 2 towards parking. So how many? That was 7, wasn't it? The one will be on Ferguson. There's one for parking and one for the restroom on Ferguson, and then the downtown. We've got that out here as well. Don't think we have one coming in north right now, but we've got other signs out there. The Big Tex lift station, that project was awarded to Udelhoven, which is kind of fun to say, last council meeting, and the contracts have been forwarded to the contractor. We have got everything's ready for them, so as soon as we get the contract back, we'll issue a notice to proceed for that project.
Do you have a completion date?
I'm gonna ask Brittany that question. I don't remember either. I think it's like our problem is that our lift station pumps have a delivery of, seems like 120 days, so it's gonna be 6 months out anyway. The 24-inch water line project, we're got that ready to advertise. We're wanting to advertise that one in the paper on the 6th and the 13th, and present those bids to the council around December the 7th is our plan for that. The pavement rehabilitation project that you see here, that's the one we just completed, and that's the one-time pay estimate project that we just finished. East 4th Street culvert replacement, we're waiting on basically weather that's not so wet, and we'll move that one forward probably when we do the County Road 2200 would be my guess. The I-30 storage tank rehabilitation project, that project we're planning to advertise December the 4th and the 11th, receive bids in the middle of January, and present that to council January the 18th.
Hopefully the School Street tank will be full before we have to take this one down.
We were scheduling all of this around that School Street tank being completed. That's what we've been waiting on for a few months now, so that's where we're at. The Town Lake Swillway project, the bridge has been set on it. We still like concrete. The deck has been poured on it, and I say concrete for the sidewalks, and then some seeding, fertilizing, and things of that nature. That project's come along really well. The Green Hill Park concrete panel replacement, we're working on that project right now to work it in through maintenance, so that one's working on. And then the County Road 2200, we're working on. We haven't really started on that one. We're working to get that one started so that we can move it in with the culvert project, hopefully.
Lanny, on the Green Hill concrete panel replacement, we plan on starting that before the first of the year or not?
Yes, sir. We plan on starting that before the first of the year. We found a way to work it in to where we keep the price down, where we can stay under the 50,000. So we're doing it that way. The signal light deceleration lane study that we're working on for Pilgrims, we did the traffic count on that. We expect to report the week of the 16th, and expect design to start as soon as feasible after that. So that project's moving along very well. The Highway 271 elevated storage tank repairs, we have had a little bit of a hassle getting prices on that. We've got one price to basically add some primer and top coat for about $12,000. We got another quote we're expecting hopefully here in the next 2 weeks, and the contractor's just been out of pocket. And then we'll make a decision, and I'm hoping at the next council meeting we have something to bring to you. The downtown streetlights on Madison, we did award that project. We ran into a few difficulties. We've decided to hold off on the project until after the Christmas, Thanksgiving celebrations are over. So we're working on canceling it right now. A lot of the electrical has been ordered, so that project should be very easy to kick back up and get going after the holidays, so we don't tear everything up during the holidays. The Pilgrims Community Center, we just discussed with the pay estimate with the architect. We are working to get a little better handle on that project, and we'll try to watch it. But like Mr. Thatcher said, it's going to be February, March before we get metal to start with.
I've been asked on that project there. Of course, we know some of these building materials are coming down, lumber, a few things. Will this price come down some? Is it based on that? Is it tied in with that some, with metal and steel and lumber?
I didn't see anything when I scanned the contract, but I can certainly double check that to see if that's a possibility.
The steel price was locked in when we did it, so the steel's locked in, and but we on the other items of the contract, when we get about a month out from when the steel's going to be delivered, they're going to go back to the contractor, and he's going to revise his estimates for all the other bids. So it could go down or up depending on what the prices are. So yeah, he'll redo that and submit them to us, and then hopefully they could start on the foundation and stuff a month out from when the steel's being done. Is that right, Lanny, or not?
So traditionally, once we get the plans for the metal building and we know where they're gonna set columns and everything, we can start on the foundation work. So he'll have to bid that out to get that at that time to make sure that we're moving in the right direction. The Texas Community Development Block Grant for the streetlights downtown on Jefferson and 4th Street. We anticipate having funds for that somewhere in January. And so that project, you know, we would anticipate starting, it's probably going to be starting somewhere in the spring, something like that, before you'd ever see any construction, maybe summer.
This grant, we expected to do it after the first. This is for more of the special lights where we put wreaths on them and so forth. It's from 3rd to 4th on Jefferson, and then across 4th from Jefferson to Madison, 2 blocks. And I hate to say it, we failed to get 2nd Street to 3rd on Jefferson. We'll add that in this year too and get that done. It won't be done by the grant, but it'll be done by with this other project that we're going to do after the first. So should have more of those all done by summer, I think.
Yes, this is going to be moved up on priority to get those done well ahead of time. We're working on cost estimates and working with Mr. Thatcher on the proposed new street between Old Parish Road and Business 271, kind of between the high school over there and over to Business 271. So that's in a very preliminary stages, but we're just looking at it right now to kind of give you updated prices on that. I did throw the emergency response plan down here. That is one that we have to work on because of Senate Bill 5. Just to let you know that the information was due to the state on electric meters and things of that nature. By November the 1st, that was done, and now we're moving into the actual plan and then implementation. This is brand new to us, so we're kind of working on it as we go. My knowledge of it is not as great yet, but we're getting there. And then the last thing is the Camp Langston property. The sewer line has been completed for that, and it's actually over there on Camp Langston, but it's across that property from adjacent business. Are there any questions or any other items or projects that need to be discussed?
Lanny, can you go back to 21, the emergency response plan? Can you just give a high-level overview of what that actually entails, what required of us to even meet those criteria?
I can, but it's going to be real dangerous, and I hope you don't take every word that I say here because I'm not exactly sure. A lot of this has to do with just making sure you're prepared with respect to generation, backup capabilities to make sure that, you know, that we can respond to emergencies. A lot of this was, of course, associated with the things that happened back last year with all the emergencies with power, with water. So it's kind of a backup plan for all of that.
It was, you know, the state in a lot of areas was embarrassed because of the storm and the electrical and everything. This was a knee-jerk reaction by our state legislature that jumped up and said, we're going to fix this so all utilities and water and whatever, especially if you sell to other entities. I mean, we're a wholesaler to TriSud and Winfield. So if you're in that category, you got to make sure you have backup generators and backup storage and to supply the water and so forth. And then we want to point out that we have to have a plan. We got to do it by March. So we're getting that done. But it also then they realized, all the wholesalers came out and said, okay, but this is going to cost us a lot of money, and that's going to be passed on through the rates. And then they came back and said, oh yeah, we didn't think about that. So if it's too much money, we'll maybe waive the requirement. That's kind of how it went down. But we still have to do the plan. So I hope I didn't sound too.
So I'm just curious, so Lenny, do you have to have a backup for the backup? Meaning, I know we already have generators, so do we have to have a portable generator if that stationary permanent generator was to fail?
So this is pretty much that right there. to let you know how this is, and I'm sure that every state legislator will read all this, but, you know, they're asking for your meter numbers at every lift station, at every water plant, at your sewer plant. They want to know what those meter numbers are and what utility is serving those meters. So what you're really looking at here is you're looking at, you know, giving them that information so they can put it all together. And what they're going to do with that, I have no idea. But it is just trying to get a backup to a backup.
And who's bearing the cost for these studies?
And the municipality or the owner.
And the cost is passed on to the consumer or the, you know, whoever, we have to put it back in rates, which they realize. But a lot of things we learned without them telling us we had to. We learned we had a generation problem at one, remember? And we said we only had one, we needed two. So we started doing that, but they required the plan.
Right, and as you can imagine, they asked for grants, you know, associated with generators before the plans were finished, so that you knew exactly what you needed to ask for. So this is an unusual situation.
All right. Well, thank you, Lanny. We appreciate you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. City manager's asked me to kind of update you guys on our happenings in our parks. I know you guys get all kinds of questions throughout the day. And so basically what I've provided to you is just a park replacement plan. And basically we've identified items in each of our parks that we want to upgrade, replace, or improve. This is a working document, obviously, so it can have things added, taken away, adjusted. So, and if you look at the very last column, it'll tell you the status of some, whether they're completed or in progress. Now, there's some that don't have any information on there, and most of those are high dollar items. So most of these things are dependent upon available funding.
The funding that is here is what's in the budget. It was in there last year, what's going to be in there this year. So it gives you an idea of how it's spread apart across the parks. And one thing we pointed out, we did some work in Heritage as far as refinishing the tennis courts and some basketball courts. And we probably should have sent that information to you that it was completed. And then some of the other parks like Delwood, they're so bad, the surfaces are so bad, we're having to tear them out and totally rebuild them. So that's why it's taken a while there.
Also, you'll notice Oaklawn Park, we haven't done much there, and so the plan there is to wait for the construction of the community center, and then of course we're gonna put the covering over the basketball courts, but we're trying to plan at the same time to replace the playground there. That'll be the last playground that we replace and kind of get all the amenities done at that time. And so it'll almost be like we're having a new grand opening of the park is what I envision.
I have a question that's been asked me about the community center and the covered basketball goals. How many basketball goals will it be? Would it just be the two that are there, or would there be additional goals?
So the plan would be for a full court long ways, and then you also could do 2 sideways. So it'd be a total of 6 goals.
I got just one. Did you have one? I was about as far as I know, there's going to be several trees that's going to have to be removed. Yeah, and I'm not sure if they'll know when they'll be getting done. I know the project is looking at starting in February, but ahead of the steel, when you want to get that.
Yeah, hopefully they'll come in and do the pad and the foundation and so forth. Maybe prior to the steel coming, but it may not be. It may be about the same time. So January, February. And so prior to that, they'll go out and they'll put some ribbon around the trees that's got to come out, and then the contractor will come out and take them out and dig the stumps out and so forth.
Okay.
So we've got plenty of trees over there, if that's what you're worried about, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, no, I'm not worried about the trees. I'm just worried about when, them getting them, yeah, when they have to go.
Could you possibly use this time to address, there's been some questions presented to me and concerns about the use of the baseball fields for practicing at, I guess the ones up here at Fair Park? And what's our policy on that, and can you give us an update on the situation on those ballparks?
Yes, ma'am. So there were some individuals that called today to try and rent some fields, and so there's absolutely nothing that we've changed. We have an ordinance in effect where we have an agreement with the Baseball Association, and so their last day of the year for practice for their organization was the 31st of October, and so any additional practices from the end of their season or their time that they paid for until they start back up again, people would have to pay. So it's $25 for daytime, $75 if lights are needed, basically per field, per hour.
Their season start.
So typically the spring season they begin practicing February or March.
3 months, November, December, and January.
That's my understanding is the 3 months there. And what the issue just for the public is the facilities being locked up, and we have some of these select ball teams. I call them select traveling teams, select team, whatever you want to refer to them, that uses the field. And also we have some citizens that go up there and just carry a couple of kids, and they just hit the ball around and play catch or whatever on the actual baseball field. And the facility's is being locked up. And I think that's and I visited with Ricky prior to our meeting on a couple of suggestions that to get with the Baseball Association and see maybe if and I think there would be, I can't speak on their behalf, have this facility for 12 months and them be kind of like they are now, where they put the open the gate, lock the gates, let people in and out. And I'm sorry, I didn't visit. It was Mr. Thatcher that I visited with a little bit about that. I don't think you were present there. But, that's something, but we can discuss and talk about this. This is something that needs to be definitely talked about, because, these are citizens' fields, and I understand sometimes when, a guy wants to carry 2 or 3 of his grandkids out there or some of the buddies or whatever, and just actually play on the field there and go through the motions on the actual field. And so I think it's something that definitely needs to be looked into and see if we can't come in. I think the Baseball Association, they're very involved and do a great job, and they're beneficial. They work with the city, I know. So I think they would be our avenue, I'm going to call it, to maybe get this problem resolved.
So I have visited with the Baseball Association, and so they've had a handshake 10-month agreement in the past, and so we've honored that up to this point. Now, at some point, we have to have a period of time where we can do maintenance on the fields, and so that's what we would do from now until the spring season. So, I spoke to the president, and so he's the one that reiterated to me that these people that are currently trying to practice, they're not affiliated with their association. They're using some of the same kids, Mount Pleasant kids, but they're not including them as part of the agreement.
Right, I understood that, and I understood from them also that they know that is the time that is designated during the year for rehabilitating the fields, working on them, et cetera. And when that time comes, my understanding was, all they need to do is just know and say, hey, if you want us to be the responsible party for locking them up, we will be. So anyway, I think we can get all this resolved and be able to go forward where we need to.
Okay.
Hey, just real quick, Ricky, on all these parts where we are adding playgrounds, are they just going to be cookie cutter playgrounds? They're all the same, or are they going to be unique to that specific park?
So basically, we try to have different ones at each one. Absolutely.
And while we're talking about parks, just for clarity for me, if for no one else, Are the soccer fields officially open for use at the new park?
So the Soccer Association has paid their fees, and their games run through the 23rd of this month. So yes, ma'am.
Were the fields ready for this? I thought we were still needing to establish grass.
So they are playable. There are spots, and that goes back to what I was talking about. Even at the soccer fields, we're going to have time to make some adjustments and improve that. And so I would say it's going to take 2 years to get them to optimum.
One of the things that we are proposing we do, because we've had some vandalism out there, they tear the in the bathroom, they'll tear the paper holder for the wash your hands, dry your hands. They tear those off the walls fast so we can put them back on. I don't know what all that stuff they're doing in there. They're tearing it up in the bathroom. Then they're taking, and I say I don't know who they are, but after dark, where they take the sprinkler heads that are about $50 a piece, and they take them off, take them out and smash them in the parking lot. And so there's a lot of stuff like that going on. We're going to recommend a lot of the parks we keep open till midnight, but I've never personally believed there's really much, unless you're playing a field with the lights on or something, but there's really not much good can happen in the dark in the park. And so we're going to recommend that sometime after sundown, an hour or so, we close the gates. Once we get gates, so we close the gates and lock it, and then the police can go in and see if there's anybody there and say, hey, you're not supposed to be here, and make them go out. I know that we have security lights in there around the playground and different. They come on and they're there all night for security. But as far as on the soccer fields and in the back by the shed where our mechanic stuff is, there's no lights back around there. And so it's really dark out there. And when there's people out in the middle of the field messing, you can't hardly see them unless you're right up on them. It's really dark. So we want to close the field after dark and open it right before sunup kind of thing, and have it open. Now, in the daytime, those fields are wide open. People get on and play, practice, do whatever on the fields. There's no way to keep them off. But at nighttime, there's really no reason for them to be there.
I have a question. Why would the park be open until midnight in Mount Pleasant, Texas? What's going on in Mount Pleasant at 12 a.m. that someone needs to be in the park? I'm not understanding it. And if you're having this type of vandalism, you have to stop it. I know many years ago, they used to have softball tournaments here, and they would last a long time. But I'm not really understanding why a park in this area of Texas that you're having these type of problems with should be open until midnight. And the problem with I made a living in correction, and the problems with juvenile delinquency, it'll get worse. And the police department has a lot to do. But you're not going to be able to watch every time kids go out there and you close that park up, and with all that land out there. I think we'll have to find a date and a time when you have to close it earlier. I know many years ago they might have thought 12 o'clock was good, but I've been out there, I've seen them out there. It's only going to get worse. And if you have paid, maybe $11 million for a park, we need to do what it takes to protect and take care of it on this end of it, to take care of it.
Have we looked into the security cameras that we discussed? Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, we have. So that's still the plan. I know it's not on the list. I haven't put that on there, but absolutely.
We've had discussions about the park closures and the times with Chief Buman and Ricky, and we did plan on coming to you all and with a plan. We know that we have resolutions or ordinances that say that on the weekend it's late and the weekdays it's at 10 or so, I don't know exactly, something like that. But I've always felt like that the same as you, after dark there's not much that you can do there. Now we have some lights around the trails that you can still walk around after dark. I'm not sure it's real safe to do that. And so, but some parks, like the new park, we've got gates and fence, and we can shut it down to car, vehicle. Most of the other parks are just wide open, so it's difficult. But depending on what the time is, the police can drive by and people out there say, hey, you got to move on, kind of thing. So we're going to bring it to you to discuss, and we'll recommend.
From criminal justice point of view, that will only get worse for police as time goes on. Because we know how children work in this area, and when they get cold, they did it at Delwood and every other park, and they'll come through it and take toilet paper and just put it everywhere. It's coming. You can act like it's not going to happen all you want to, but it's coming. If you've ever raised children, you know this is coming. And where our other parks are smaller, you all haven't had work to do if those kids start putting all that toilet paper out there at that much, in that big park. And you can't watch all of them. And then even when you close the gate out there, they can just hide behind trees. And plus, the new park, I guess we'll just have to look at it, it's in an area where people don't normally go. So the police have to go out there. It's not like anything was normally going on out there in that area. So you're creating an area. And in this area, there are not many, because I work at the school, there are not many activities for children. So that in and of itself is just going to leave more time for kids to do things that are wrong. And if you think they're doing stuff now, just wait till it gets warm and they have a whole summer and they're not doing anything around here, and you'll get a chance to see exactly what they're going to do.
Thank you.
We appreciate you, Beth. Thanks. Okay. Wow. That was a pretty lengthy one. We'll go ahead and close item 9. I'm closing item 9 on the agenda. And we're going to move on to item 14, which is our public comment. At this time, if anyone has anything to say or comment, please approach the podium and state your name and your concerns. It's button.
My name is Sue Evenwell. You may know me by other names, but tonight I'm here representing myself and no other group or anything. I've given you a packet of documentation, and I'm going to follow along in the order that it is given to you. Earlier last month, a Texas citizen got this letter that you have in front of you from President Biden, notifying them of a check of $1,400 that's going to be given to them by direct deposit from the American Rescue Plan. Reading the highlighted areas, it's clear what the intent of the American Rescue Plan is. Quote, on March 11th, 2021, I signed into law the American Rescue Plan, a law that will help vaccinate America. And then it continues to the end, and it says, quote, we are on a path to vaccinating the nation. We don't have to have a big discussion tonight about vaccinations, except you probably need to know that I am an adamant support of the decision to be vaccinated be made by the individual and not by a government mandate. So why am I bringing this to you? Well, I was alerted to Senate Bill 8. Was passed in this last legislative session, the third legislative session, and it's sitting on the governor's desk now, and I want it vetoed. It calls for the appropriation of $16.3 billion of the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery fund from the American Rescue Plan 2021 and how it's going to be distributed. This money came with a contract, and I just wonder if the city of Mount Pleasant got one too, because you were awarded $1.9 million with another 1.7 million coming later in April, probably after the 221 taxes are collected. And it has not been allotted yet, so that's why I'm bringing it to you. When you read the fine print of the contract, just look on that contract, which I've given you, on page 3, section 9. Quote, it says, the recipient also agrees to comply with all the applicable federal, state statutes, regulations, and executive orders. And recipient shall, for compliance by other parties in any agreements it enters into with other parties relating to the award. Will the inclusion of the executive order terms or compliance found in the various Corona Fund distribution programs now be the means to transfer control from state and local governments to the federal government by consent of contract? It's a question I have, and it hasn't been answered yet. On October 15th, 2021, just about 3 weeks ago, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton warned the state agencies of federal contract language, causing conflicts between state and federal laws, and I highlighted the critical language for you. Quote, President Biden recently issued a federal executive order directing federal departments and agencies to begin including the clause in federal contract and contract-like instruments specifying that contractors must comply with, quote, workplace safety protocols that would apply to all covered contractor employees, including contractor or subcontractor employees. And these protocols will now be included as a requirement that covered employees to receive the COVID-19 vaccination. Now, if you flip over that letter to the other side, the second page, does this mean that Mount Pleasant, if it accepts this funding, all companies that the city does business with will have to comply with vaccination mandates? I don't know, but I think we ought to be sure before we sign a contract, if there is one, and are we willing to take liberty away by doing that? So some will say the feds come in all the time, or they can't come into a sovereign state and subvert the laws with federal funds, but what I'm saying is they do it all the time. Just recently, the state also passed a law that said critical race theory cannot be taught in classrooms in the state of Texas. But in fact, we know that federal dollars are pouring in to the teachers' associations and so forth. And so the State Board of Education approved educational materials have not been followed. And yes, CRT is being taught in schools in Texas. Private property regulations protect Texan landowners, but federal transportation dollars corrupt that and allow for the land to be confiscated and condemned. In Texas, we still have a law on the books, if you can imagine, that says marriage is between one man and one woman. I bet you didn't know that. Because the minute after the Supreme Court ruled otherwise, Texas leaders just folded, and immediately local governments changed employee handbooks and benefits based on the SCOTUS ruling. And so now same-sex couples are recognized for family benefits too. And yet Texas never resisted. We could have. We're a sovereign state. The city of Brady, Texas is one of 65 municipalities with the population under 50,000 that have declined this funding, the same thing that you received. And you can see others that are listed on the Texas Department of Emergency Management. By the way, I spoke with Mikhail. She is great. She directed me to some of these resources that I've been able to, to consult with. Senate Bill 8 also speaks of future tranches of funds and now how the recipients will be expected to follow federal lawmaking. And this will be ongoing. It's never going to stop. And new executive orders will also be put in place. I haven't fully investigated how this will all affect the citizens of Mount Pleasant, but before we start spending the free money, please do your due diligence on what's going on. Find out what it really is going to cost us. Will Mount Pleasant citizens be forced to comply with mandates from the Biden administration, despite what our legislature or our government does. This seriously smells like soft Marxism, and I am very aware of what's going on across our country in regards to socialism, communism, and Marxism. I've been an activist for a long time, and the activists here are seeking the governor's veto on SBA to protect liberty and stop advancing the Marxist-style control over individuals, businesses, and corporations. And I'm asking you to consider declining these funds if, in fact, you find this contract will just lead us to less liberty and more tyranny. I just appreciate being able to talk before you. I ask you to consider the things that I gave you, the documentation. I'm going to consider researching it myself, and I hope you do too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, if I could just say that we heard that there are cities like Brady and other 60 others that got real nervous and gave the money back or refused the money. A lot of other cities, thousands of others, have decided to look into it. We've talked to Kerry, our attorney, and also another attorney about this, and they're both saying that you probably don't want to knee-jerk and quick do something right away. They're going to look into it, see if the state government's going to try to work something out with the federal government, but there's nothing in anything that says that we got to make people get shots that work here or whatever. It does say that we, like every other grant we've ever had from the federal government, will comply with federal law. And in fact, grants we got during President Trump's administration, we had the same thing. We have to do the same thing in President Obama and President Bush. So it's not different. I know as far as mandating shots, I think about 75% of our employees or more have already received the vaccination. We're honoring the governor's mandate that says that we can't mandate them to do that. And so there's a few that don't want to, and we don't plan on making them. But nobody's come and said that you've got to do that. We haven't heard that. And right now we're planning on spending the $1.9 million we have, with another 1.7 coming and in July. And as you know, we have projects for all that money already squared out and set out. And some of these projects that were approved to pay today, some of that money is being used for those projects, and they've all been approved. So that's kind of where we are. We are looking at doing some research so we know, but we're not going to jump up and send the money back and refuse it till we know. Like the other cities, that they've done their research, they're just giving it back so they don't have to worry about it. But it's enough money that we're going to worry about it and do some research. So we'll be back in touch with you.
And some of them definitely be looking into. Do we have anyone else out in the public that would like to come up and approach the podium at this time?
I'd like to once again welcome and thank Rex Allen. He's here tonight with NTCC, and he has several students here from his government class, and you're always welcome. We always appreciate your attendance, and so thank y'all for coming tonight, and you're always welcome.
Most certainly. Awesome. Good to see you. Is it Megan? All right, I remembered. All right. As always, it's a pleasure, Mr. Allen, to see you come in and interact with us here. And other than that, I guess you have something to go ahead.
In response to your response to Ms. Evenwell's presentation to us, if I understood this legislation that President Biden has just signed came after we received the first round of the funds from COVID. There's another round coming, so I do think I'm hoping that we will be very careful. And again, I know that all administrations, that most grants have strings attached. That's one reason this old girl's never liked them ever, but I'm in the minority and I understand that. I'm okay with it. But there is things that we have to be really careful what we need to know that we know, because these are big issues for a lot of people about vaccinations. Again, I'm okay with people taking vaccines if they choose to, but I do not like mandates.
Any further comment? Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and close item 15 on the agenda and move on to our city manager's report.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I want to just remind you that Friday night is our lighting of the town square, and your presence is needed at that stage, on stage left in front of the courthouse on the north end at 6:15. Program starts at 6:30, and they want all of you there, and they want you up on the stage. We'll invite everybody up on the stage. The mayor's going to be emceeing, and or we'll be saying a few words and introducing people. And so we want you there. We have your shirt and some stuff for you if you want to wear that night. And then you have an agenda here that shows the agenda if you want to look at that. If you have any questions, we're glad to answer them. That's all I have.
Okay, well, if there's no questions from Mr. Thatcher here, we'll go ahead and close the city manager's report. And at this time, we'll be going to the executive session. Pursuant to Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, Texas Government Code, the city council will recess into executive session to discuss the following. It's real property, discuss purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Personnel matters, discuss the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee in the city manager. Council now, will reconvene into, our regular session. There's no decisions made, no action taken in our executive session. At this time, the council is adjourned.